Hey everyone, welcome back to Keep Running with BK. And if you have started or have been trying the Maffetone Training Method, then there's a good chance that at some point in time you have experienced frustration with how slow it feels when you're running. And in today's video, I want to share with you some tips that have really helped me how to navigate that frustration and really reap the benefits of the Maffetone Training Method. The MAF Training Method is a low heart rate training method that requires runners to often slow down significantly more than they're used to or even comfortable with. And the goal of Dr. Maffetone's approach is to run at our calculated maximum aerobic heart rate to run at the optimal aerobic level. And that allows our body to make the adaptations and learn to burn fat calories efficiently. And I've talked about this in some other videos. I'll put a link in the upper corner to a link on my general overview. But it's important to remember that when we train above this threshold, our body quickly transitions to burning carbohydrate sugar for fuel. And if we allow that to go on for too long, it can be really hard to back it down and maybe even bonk in our runs. So what this means is slowing down, and if you're just starting out, you should really commit to 3 to 6 months of purely running within your Maffetone training range to allow your body to make the adaptations it needs to begin developing your aerobic base. And then moving forward, you should be dedicating a significant amount of your training week or training season to running at your MAF rate to continue to build your capacity to long-term running health and fitness year after year. There also may need to be some tweaks, when you're starting off for older or younger runners. But generally speaking, when we get frustrated at this, it could be a sign that we've just have a deficient and poorly developed aerobic system, and that we're so familiar and comfortable with relying on a more anaerobic approach to training, which can limit us and restrict us in our development as distance runners or endurance athletes. So in today's video, I really just want to share with you some tips that I have found as I've had to slow down and really relearn how to run, discovering what easy really is, but then also just to rejuvenate my own running. So I'm going to start with a quote from the book written by Coach Jack Daniels, Daniels Running Formula, where he says, the one question that needs to be answered on a regular basis regarding training is, what is the purpose of your training session? In other words, when you step out the door to go run, you need to have a clear picture and a clear understanding of what is the purpose of this particular training workout. What is it that I'm trying to achieve? And that really goes whether you're doing MAF training or any kind of training, but knowing what you're about to do, what the goal and purpose is, so that you can set your mind on the right approach. And with MAF training, you have to slow down initially. And if you're embracing the process and you understand what the benefits are that you're trying to gain, you understand that there's bad habits that have to be undone and new habits that have to be formed, I have found that really helps me to kind of just set my mind on, this is only temporary, this is only for a short period of time, and sometimes we have to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable to learn new things. I think it also serves as a good reminder that if you want to have a long running career, then it's about learning to train smarter and with intentionality and purpose to what you're trying to do, and you're systematically developing the systems of your body that come together to be successful in your running. So rather than getting frustrated and impatient and then just discarding the principles or the whole idea behind the MAF approach due to your frustration, take some deep breaths and try some of these tips that really helped me, and see if they help you. And if they do, share in the comments, or if you've got some of your own tips that you think others who are maybe trying the Maffetone Training Method who are also struggling with this frustration may benefit from. Well, let's share and encourage one another as we make the transition and strive to become better runners. One of the things that I've learned from reading Dr. Maffetone's book is that prior to embracing the principles behind math, many of us develop some really bad habits and can develop some muscle imbalances due to poor running form, due to our traditional and historical approach to running. And so one of the things that I have really focused on during the time of adaptation to this method when I'm running slower is giving a lot of thought to what my body's doing. And in particular, one of the things I think about is my hands. What am I doing with my hands? Oftentimes runners will clench their fists when they run, or they'll be gripping too hard. And when you do that, it's almost like a chain reaction. You clench your fists, then your forearms get tight, and then your arms get tight, and then your shoulders get tight, and the next thing you know it, your shoulders are starting to come up because you're tense. And all of that causes stress to the body, which can affect our heart rate. It can also affect our running form. It can affect our efficiency. We can also tire out. And so I think about, okay, pretend like I'm trying to hold a potato chip between my thumb and my forefinger, and I'm trying to just relax my hands, maybe even wiggle my fingers a little bit to shake it out, to relax my hands when I run, and just try then to relax my arms, and then pay attention to my shoulders. Are my shoulders relaxed, or are they up here? Do I need to relax and let my shoulders drop? And I try to ease into, almost visualize myself falling into a much more relaxed form as I'm running. Another classic running problem with poor form is overstriding. If I look at one of my shoes, my running shoes here, you can see here on the back heel, and you can just really see how quickly I wear down that back corner. Now, there may be some biomechanical things going on, but it's also a classic sign of overstriding. Pushing too hard too often, you're lengthening that stride and you're pushing too much. That oftentimes leads to that heel strike, which jolts through your body, as I've talked about in other videos, where you can, over long distances or over the years, that's when we begin to start experiencing knee injuries, hip injuries, and other injuries related to that poor form. So as we slow down, naturally our stride gets shorter, and that can be a frustration. But one of the things that we can think about is, okay, as I shorten my stride, how am I impacting the ground? Am I still trying to do a heel strike? Am I running on my toes, or am I doing what I should be striving for, which is a kind of a midfoot foot strike on the ground? And then I'm focusing on my turnover, my cadence. Do I feel relaxed? Do I have a consistent cadence as I'm running? And if you're using a heart rate monitor that tracks that, maybe you can kind of measure, what is your cadence, and is it improving, over the months? Think about how your feels. We oftentimes, when we start MAF, we're looking at our watch, we're trying to read our heart rate monitor, see where our heart rate is, and when it goes over, we're trying to slow down. And I often read on forums and things like that, people that are trying the Maffetone method, it seems like we get this idea, oh, I'm over my target heart rate, so I stop, or I start walking immediately. Why not think about, as I go through the things, I'm checking my hands, I'm checking my shoulders, I'm checking my stride, I'm checking my breathing, and I'm trying to relax first. And relax a little bit and see if I can't, by relaxing, slow down rather than getting caught up in trying to push the pace too hard. My stride starts to extend, or these other things, and relax back to the heart rate before I just start walking. Now, sometimes, because of our bad habits, we've allowed ourselves to push the pace too much, and our heart rate kind of climbs up there, and we're not able to relax to get it back down. And that may be an appropriate time to start walking for a while, allow our heart rate to drop, fall back into that range, and then gradually ease back into to running. What this essentially does is it allows, in a sense, our brain and our heart to kind of reset, And hopefully we can continue for a stretch within our target heart range. But oftentimes on my long runs, I notice that once your heart rate gets to a certain point over that range, it gets harder and harder to get it back down, because it's already transitioned to burning sugar as fuel. And because of my bad habits and the muscle memory and things like that, it's just really hard to get the heart rate to drop back down. And in those cases, oftentimes walking is what's necessary to get it to come back down. The other thing to maybe consider adopting is anytime you come to an uphill, just walk the uphill, or focus on really short strides, but trying to keep the same cadence. And it may seem silly, you might feel like you look silly, but learning to keep that cadence, shorten your stride, keeping it light, keeping it easy, may be another way to maybe avoid walking, but then learning how to run uphills more efficiently. Another thing that I don't know that I struggle with this personally, but I have a habit of watching other people run when I'm driving, and I can't tell you how common it is for people who I think have an excessive arm swing or leg movement. And what I mean by that is, if you imagine a line going down the center of your body, seeing people's arms swing across that midline, or swinging wildly left and right, or even their legs swinging out, or things like that. You kind of want to run so that you're not working against your body and wasting effort, wasting energy. That's just poor form. It's going to affect your pace. It's going to affect the stress on your body. It's going to affect your heart rate, and you're just going to be out there a lot longer. But learning to run relaxed, but having your arms swing more forward, straight forward and back, making sure that you've got good alignment when your foot's coming up off the ground, that your ankle and your knees and your hips, as long as you don't have any biomechanical challenges there, they should be lining up, and it should be a straightforward motion, not all over the place. You might have some deficiencies that you may need to do some strength exercising or balancing exercises to kind of bring it back in, but that will certainly help you to run more efficiently, which ultimately will allow you to run faster at your targeted MAF heart rate. Just to wrap up real quickly with some real quick hitters here on some other tips. Make sure that you start out your runs slower than you think you should. If you start off too fast and you get your heart rate up there, as we talked about, it's much harder to bring your heart rate back down. Mix up your routes. Don't always run the same routes. Find new places to run, new routes to run. Do some exploring. Many of the heart rate monitor watches that we run with and have today also have a GPS function. It'll track where you're going, so you don't need to really worry about that. It's freed me up to just really kind of go off and explore different streets, different neighborhoods, different trails at the park, and things like that, and not stress out about it. It will capture the metrics that I want for my running. I can just focus on just enjoying what's around me, the scenery, taking in the sights and the sounds, and really just learning to enjoy those easy days. Maybe try running for time. I'm going to go run for an hour rather than I'm going to go run for a certain distance or run at a certain pace. Get in the habit of just developing a different mindset. Maybe will help to make the transition, so that you're not stuck in those same old ruts. I'm going to run this route. I got to run it this fast, or what does that mean? We wrestle with that internal ego that always wants to go faster and be better. And lastly, I really want to encourage you to make sure you take advantage of performing regular MAF tests at the end of the month or every so many weeks. Perform that MAF test to compare your efforts so that you can see and visualize the progress that you're making. Again, one of the goals of the MAF test is, am I able to run further or faster at the same heart rate? And that is a great tool, a great encouragement just to remind you that, I am making progress. This isn't a waste of time, and it's not a waste of my effort. Well, that's all the tips that I have for you for this video. I hope that you found this video helpful. Hopefully you've got some ideas to try the next time you head out to do another MAF run, and hang in there. This takes time. Learning new habits is hard, and part of being an endurance athlete is learning to be and developing that idea of being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Sometimes that means being uncomfortable running hard for a longer period of time, yes, but also it means learning to be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable and learning new things like slowing down to develop your aerobic base and really embrace the principles here for a successful long training career. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll come back and check me out next time. Until then, keep safe, train smart, don't get frustrated, and keep running.